Ian, Sal Licata here on The Fan. Appreciate the few minutes. We've been talking about Russell Wilson this morning. What's the latest that you're hearing with Russell Wilson as far as the teams he'd be willing to go to and how realistic it is that Wilson would get out of Seattle and potentially come to New York to play for the Giants?
Yeah, this is a little earlier than we're used to talking about this. I think last year all this discussion started when Russell Wilson was about to accept his Man of the Year award, kind of right around then as he was getting set to do his publicity tour. And now the season's not over and the word already gets out that there's a couple places he would like. It's just interesting. A couple things that are important to note here. One, he does not get to decide if he gets traded. He can sort of mention, hey, here are teams that I would like to here are things that I would, here are teams that I would like to go to, but they can do nothing. They hold his rights for 2 more years and then 2 more franchise tags. So they can just say, you know what, we're just not going to do it. And, I would say leaking places that he might go during the season while a playoff push is still theoretically possible. Maybe not the greatest way to ensure that the team kind of does whatever you want, I would just say. Now, as far as the places, I know the Giants were one. That makes sense. I don't know if the Giants would be interested, but him wanting to go to the Giants makes sense.
Why? Why does that make sense?
It's in New York / New Jersey. Marquee franchise, great name. You can look at the Giants being not good, obviously, but the defense is good. They got some pretty good receivers. They got we'll see about tight end, but certainly they have some talent. There's really more questions about what about Daniel Jones? And I don't know what about Daniel Jones because it's actually been difficult to judge what he is based on what's around him, the injuries. Jason Garrett did him no favors. Russell Wilson would make the franchise a lot better. He just would. So
well, I mean, their offensive line stinks as it does in Seattle. You say the Giants' defense is good, but it's worse than it was a year ago. The wide receivers that they do have here can't get on the football field, and even when they are, I mean, Kenny Golladay has done essentially nothing. I just feel like and you look at the other trade rumors potentially with Denver. You look at their skill set of position players, their defense significantly better. New Orleans better than the Giants. I feel like. I get it. It's New York. It's the Giants. There's potential there, but the other spots are better for winning sooner, I would think.
Yes. Denver, I would say, is in probably, if they get a great quarterback, is probably in very good position to win and win for a while. They got 3 great receivers locked in for 3 years. They got a defense. They got a great young corner. There's a lot of things. New York is New York, and it's the Giants. And look, I know Russell Wilson wants to win. He is insanely competitive. He fought back to get on the field as fast as possible from that really bad finger injury, all of that. But he's married to Sierra. He has a lot going on off the field. His charity stuff is important. His, would he like to be able to go to the Met Gala during the season? I think he probably would. I'm not saying that he's not interested in winning. I'm just saying Denver doesn't really have a Met Gala.
Right.
It's different in New York. It is just different. And I think in the back of Russell Wilson's mind, the Giants have always been a team where he's been like, what if I played for that?
Right. And so, okay, let's say this is a realistic possibility. Clearly he would want to come to New York for all the reasons that you just mentioned. Let's say Seattle realized, you know what? We're terrible. We might as well try to get some of those picks back that we gave away, rebuild, restart. Can the Giants actually swing this salary cap-wise? I mean, have we gotten to that point where we could actually look at that and say, is it a possibility?
Oh, yeah, it's a possibility.
Okay.
I mean, you can sort of do whatever you want salary cap-wise, honestly. The cap's going to go up. It's going to be $208 million, which is a lot more than, $20 million boost, something like that. It's a lot more. Plus, we're talking quarterback salaries. So you can always, if you wanted to extend him, you can extend him. You can give a big signing bonus. You can, kind of spread it out over a couple. You can always make it work. I mean, the Saints make it work somehow, and they have no space.
Yeah, I mean,
so it is at least feasible.
Yeah, that's why I'm asking you. I have no idea because you look at the Rams and they bring in player after player. And you're like, how the hell are they making this fit? So I'm glad to hear you say it. You can make it work if you want to.
Here's the other thing. So the Giants have Kadarius Toney, who I think is going to be a really good player, but unfortunately, a lot of them, you don't know because he hasn't played a lot. When he's played, he's been fascinating, but honestly, you really don't know. They have him because they had a high first rounder. They traded a 1. So now they have 2 ones. So what having 2 ones does is it gives them maximum flexibility for next year, like this coming draft, 2022, right? So let's just say the Giants wanted to trade up for a quarterback in this draft. They have an extra first rounder to do it. Let's just say they wanted to trade for a veteran quarterback. They have 2 ones this year and a 1 next year. That's 3 ones. That's basically the price. So the Giants, if they wanted to, could actually do it.
Okay, now the question would be, should the Giants do it? I personally think it would be a big mistake. And I love Russell Wilson, and I think it'd be exciting for what we do. I think it'd be great here in New York. The franchise to me is too far away. I would not look to give up all those picks for a player who's 33. Would you have, and not that it's a knock on Wilson, he's great, and I don't really even care about the age so much, but you get it. He's done a lot of great work already in his career, and the Giants are far away. So I personally wouldn't do it. Would you do it? And then do you think the Giants would do it?
The only thing that matters is what the Giants do. And I think one thing we've learned is if you have a quarterback, if you got a guy, then you are always in the mix, right? I mean, the Chargers have been a franchise that the Chargers have been what they are the last 5 years. And they got Justin Herbert, they're in the mix. The Bengals have been the Bengals. They got Joe Burrow, bad pinky and all. They are right in the mix. If you have a quarterback, you can do whatever you want. And I think, Russell Wilson's offensive line this year has not been great. He also is so mobile and runs around so much that I think he kind of makes them bad because he gives up sacks by running around so much. If you have Russell Wilson, your team immediately gets better. And I know it'd be expensive, but it's always expensive. If Daniel Jones, maybe Daniel Jones comes back, catches fire at the end of the year, and they say, we don't need a great quarterback. Maybe they say, we want to see a 4th year from him. But otherwise, to me, if you have the same thing with the Dolphins and Tua, it's like they had to investigate Deshaun Watson because if you have a chance to get a top guy, you've got to look really hard at it.
Well, you mentioned Deshaun Watson. If the Giants are going to make that move with picks for a veteran quarterback, and I know Russell Wilson is better, more proven, but then would Deshaun Watson be on the table as well for the Giants, assuming that he clears the legal stuff?
If they are interested in veteran quarterbacks, I would think he would. Now, we'd have to see which way as an organization they go on his off the field stuff. There's civil lawsuits, there's criminal matters being investigated. I don't know if by that time his criminal matter will be finished. It may not. If it is all concluded and it's just civil, might the Giants say we have a chance to get a great quarterback in his prime? Like that's worth it. I also don't know. That's an interesting debate about who actually is better, Russell Wilson or Deshaun. Like I might argue for Deshaun, maybe. Right. Plus he's younger. So, but look, if we're going to go down that road and the Giants are going to say we are moving on from Daniel Jones, we're going to bring in a superstar quarterback, I would say they're all on the table.
Agreed,
right?
And that's why I kind of brought it up. You can't just focus in on Russell Wilson. I know people brought up Aaron Rodgers. Right. There's no chance Rodgers, though, would come here. We're talking with Ian Rapoport of the NFL Network. More importantly, maybe, than the quarterback is who's going to be making these decisions. What are you hearing about Gettleman? We've heard leaks. All right, well, it's inevitable. They're going to move on. They're going to force the retirement. What have you heard about Gettleman, and what can we expect next with the Giants who's going to be calling the shots?
Yeah, I mean, I would say, put me in the category of someone who does not expect Dave Gettleman to return. I do think it'll be a retirement. And I have been, I would say, much more pro Gettleman than probably a lot of people because he's done some good things. He really has. And some of the stuff that people have gone crazy for have worked out. I mean, everybody went nuts about the Leonard Williams deal. Like, I wouldn't say that was, I would say at the very least, it's neutral, right? Great player, but paying him a lot of money, but gave up something. Anyway, you could argue either way, but
trading Beckham, that's a good one to me for Gettleman. I still think trade. The Beckham trade was a good one.
Good. Beckham trade was a good trade, but everybody lost their minds at the time. So anyway, but the main thing is I do not expect him to be back. And, I would think for being aligned is so important, right? For Joe Judge to have someone where that person thinks like him, that they can be on the same page and, they know that they're going to be pushing in the same direction. So, someone who speaks the same language as Judge, someone who has known him, like, to me, and there's there's plenty out there. To me, that would probably make the most sense to go all in and say, we're going to make sure that this building is united behind, kind of going in the same direction.
Well, then, so that means you want somebody that's going to be paired with Joe Judge, or somebody that could come in and completely obliterate everything and get on their own page. Whether it's a big name, hot executive, and you would know more about that than I would. A caller brought up before Jim Harbaugh. I would love to see that. I don't know how realistic that is at this point, but you think that they're going to go more the direction of keep Joe Judge and try to bring in somebody who could work with him.
I do. Yeah. And, I think for Judge, it's been 2 years. I highly doubt the Giants are going to move on from, I guess anything's possible in this world, but highly doubt the Giants are going to move on from another coach after 2 years. Plus, there's been some good there. I mean, the team continues to play hard. They've had the injuries they've had on offense. And I know by this point in the season, I grew up in New York. I 100% listening to Than, I get it. By this point in the season, these are not reasons. These are excuses. So nobody wants to hear excuses. Oh, Saquon's not right, or Galladay's injured again, or Tony hasn't been out there, or Shep hasn't been out there. It's like at some point you're like, okay, whatever. But the reality is they have had very, very few players to actually go out and play offense with this year. But I think there's enough good things where you would say if the team actually had good players or, some sort of cohesiveness, this could be a team that could win. So I would not say that'd be a reason to move on from Joe Judge.
Yeah, I don't think it's fair. I think it's kind of, you can make the argument any which way you want. I don't think it's fair to fire a head coach, any head coach, after a year and a half or 2 years and say, well, he's not the guy. He's not the right guy. I mean, Arizona did it with Wilkes after 1 year. Turns out they made the right move. I'm still ripping them for doing it, and yet Kingsbury's got them to 10-2, which is remarkable to me. Doesn't mean that Wilkes, wasn't going to be a good head coach, but they made that decision after year one. So that's maybe where the Giants are at. Before we let you go, Ian, let's go around the league a little bit real quick. I mentioned the Cardinals-Rams, Monday Night Football, one of the bigger games on the slate. Are Arizona, are they for real here? I don't believe in them for some reason. Are they legitimate Super Bowl contenders?
You're not alone. And I don't know. I kind of felt like this earlier in the season where I'm like, I don't know, Arizona, they took a kind of a real dip at the end of last year. And, what's real, what's not. To me, going 2-1 with Colt McCoy without DeAndre Hopkins was as real as it gets. And they also didn't have Cliff Kingsbury for a game. Like, they had some COVID issues and then went out and balled. I mean, so to me, I would say, I think they are real. Probably just as interesting. I mean, this is actually a really good game. These have been a lot of primetime games have been good this year. This is a good one Monday night because, maybe we learn more about the Rams than we do about the Cardinals on Monday as well.
Well, that was going to be my next question. Are the Rams done as far as thinking what we thought? The Rams were Super Bowl favorite potentially in the NFC, adding on in season, Beckham, Von Miller, whatever. Now it's kind of like they're an afterthought behind the Packers, the Bucks, certainly the Cardinals, and maybe even the Cowboys. Yeah. What are your thoughts on where we are with the Rams right now? This is a make or break game for them Monday night?
In a little, it a little bit feels like that. And I think the public does sort of end up making some of their decisions based on what we see in primetime. It's like we make dramatic decisions on what a team is like and a player based on what we see in the playoffs because everyone's watching, and that's just the way it is, which is why sports are so great sometimes. Similar Monday, though, because everyone's going to be watching. And if the Rams do not play well, it's going to be alarming because they made one big trade. They made one huge signing. And if they go out and lay an egg, it's going to be really bad for them. I don't know which direction they're going to go, but they have become a very, very interesting and noteworthy team because of the way they struggled over the last month.
One more is kind of two-pronged in the AFC. Buffalo and Kansas City, two teams who I thought people would probably assume were going to be in the AFC Championship game, or at least two of the top teams in the league. They have had down years. I know Kansas City been a little bit better. Buffalo looking for answers, especially after getting pasted, maybe not pasted, but getting the football run down their throat on Monday night by New England. What's the issue with both these teams? Or can they be still the Super Bowl teams that maybe we thought coming in Buffalo and Kansas City?
Start with Kansas City. I think they're headed in the right direction. The offense still hasn't really caught fire, and I think Mahomes did a really good job of, as teams dropped their safeties and forced him to go down the field and kind of dink and dunk down the field. He did a good job of taking what's there. He needs to stay disciplined and stay, welcoming of just a 10-yard pass instead of a 30-yard pass. I still think the Chiefs are going to be good. Buffalo, though, I mean, what the Patriots did to them was not very nice. Um, they ran right at him and they couldn't stop him, and everybody knew it was coming. And you don't see that a lot. I mean, you see it, I guess, in some Colts games. There's not a lot of teams that run it right at you and say, hey, we're just going to do this. If you stop it, cool, but you're not going to. I don't know how Buffalo's going to respond. And they're a team that I think got a ton of, national publicity and praise, as they should have. Now it's going the other way. And I don't know what it's, I mean, I know their fans are going berserk, but what's it going to be like? I don't know. I am so interested in the Buffalo response this coming week.
Yeah, agreed. It's a great story. Last time I saw a running performance like that, I think it was Penn versus Columbia when Al Bagnoli was with Penn, and they used to run the football down Columbia's throat. Obviously now that has been turned. I know much
7-3.
Yeah.
Great season for Columbia this year.
It's remarkable what
Fantastic.
Bagnoli's done, isn't it? I mean, he's turned them into a winning program. Haven't won it all yet, but I think that they will. Thanks, Ian.
I thought this year they had a chance, beat up Dartmouth. Anyway.
Yeah, no,
great season.
I know it's more Ivy League football. And it is fun to watch if you've been following. I know you were a Columbia grad, so I figured you'd get a kick out of that. Thanks, Ian. I appreciate the few minutes.